Hailing frequencies open and welcome aboard Treks and Tangents. I'm your co-host Brian.
And I'm your co-host Jaci. I'm the Star Trek newbie who treks off on tangents.
And I'm your Star Trek expert who is here to get the tangents back on track. Each episode we watch and talk about a different Star Trek episode, and this week we watched
Star Trek, the original series, Season 1, Episode 15, Shore Leave.
Welcome back to another episode, everyone. Thanks for joining us this week.
Whoa, it was a good one.
It was a good one, but let's start it off with last week, jumping back in time to Jaci's Turbolift tease. That's where we gave Jaci the title of this week's episode, and Jaci, without any other information, tried to guess the plot of this week's episode. Computer, what did Jaci think this week's episode was going to be about?
Jaci stated last week they are going to go to another planet or galaxy, and they are going to have a break and enjoy some time with some of the cultural fun on that planet.
So, Jaci, how did you think you did? Because I think we're going to have vastly different opinions on this.
Well, on a very wide berth, I did really well, and I got it right on.
A wide berth is a very generous way to describe being a vague guess and hedging your bets.
Hey, it was that one person's cultural idea.
That's not how it happened, but I think this was a soft pitch over the plate, and I think you connected with it because I think we'd be
It was a bunt.
We'd be more surprised if you didn't hit the ball on this one. So, what did you think of this week's episode?
I really liked it. I got to learn about the past and some weird fantasies, but I'm really mad that Janice is no longer with us and we have this other yeoman.
Yeoman Barrow.
She can go away.
Yeah, no more Janice Rand until the motion picture comes out, which we'll cover at some point, I'm sure.
Yay.
I can almost guarantee at some point we will, so.
Yeah, but this chick, she does not do her job. She's just flirting with the boss.
The boss being Kirk, the boss being Dr. McCoy.
Yeah, any man. She's like, hi.
Well, we have...
I'm a cute little brunette. Can you help me?
You really didn't like her,
no,
did you?
No.
I didn't think...
She wearing a princess dress. How do I look?
Well, okay, so let's talk about the elephant in the room with this episode. We can like it as much as we do. I think it's a good episode.
Yes.
It's enjoyable to watch. It's whimsical, it's goofy, it's a different pace than other episodes we've watched. We get some more comedic elements to the plot. We get some laughs, kind of like we did with The Naked Time, with Sulu running around, everyone getting drunk and acting crazy.
Sulu did great in this one too.
And we get some more comedic themes like we did in Mud's Women, where we get more laughs than we get drama or suspense.
Naked ladies. Well, they're not really naked.
No, you can't do that. This is still 1966.
Well, they have feathers instead.
Yes, this isn't Star Trek After Dark. Although that would be for a good side pot. We're copywriting that right now, as a matter of fact, for future use. But back to my original point, the elephant in the room. How many times did these hallucinations, let's call them that, these fantasies manifest themselves, and how many opportunities were there for the members of the Enterprise to question what was going on, and they blow right past questioning it?
Like every time, the only one asking a question is no one. Like, it's just Spock.
At the very end, Spock is the one who I think puts two and two together and recognizes everything that's going on. I think the show tries to portray that Kirk comes to the same conclusion in a similar time frame, but boy, I don't think that's the way it was. I think Spock really saved the day for everyone.
Right. I mean, the only thing that Kirk did was why can't you answer my questions? Why won't you tell me? And then his pretty blonde lady goes, I'll be here when you need me. That's
Yes.
not an answer.
Yeah, but Spock, on the other hand, very much, I think, not only puts the pieces together, he's the one who discovers the pieces.
And he sees, he sees the underlayer, because supposedly this planet is beautiful, it's Earth-like, no humans, no animals, nothing, just gorgeous Earth-like beauty. And then they land and they're having so much fun, and then danger
And
and a bunny.
and a bunny, and the planet is entirely manufactured. The planet is entirely artificial. It's not even a real planet. Fun fact, in the non-restored version, so the original version, with the version we don't watch, the planet itself is just a globe of Earth. And they had to reverse those scenes so that it kind of ran mirrored, not reversed. Mirrored is a better way to describe it, because it was so recognizably Earth, they didn't want it to be. So they had to flip the negative. So in the original version, when you watch it, the ship, as it's orbiting the planet, goes from right to left instead of left to right, and the letters and numbers on the ship are backwards. They've fixed it, of course, later on with editing and the remastered versions, but fun fact,
I mean, the brains that worked on this show, I mean, they hopefully won awards or got some recognition, because I cannot even think of a weird alien person in the future. And then they've already made 15 episodes of something weird happening.
Yes, the minds that made this show, these very, very horny minds, have won awards for their work. But I think that's a good intro to this random episode, just random thoughts.
It
And
literally is random.
with that, why don't, Jackie, you walk us through the episode?
Happily. I'll skip because it's whimsy.
Please don't. Our microphones suck and would pick that up instantly.
Okay. So we are starting on the Enterprise bridge, and Spock, Kirk, and then our new yeoman. I didn't know her name yet, so I just have her as yeoman.
Yeah, because Star Trek is terrible at introducing new characters to the audience. This is partially due to the fact that the writers don't fully flesh out some of these minor background characters. We'll get to that in a bit. But also, it seems like they have this thought of, we introduce the character eventually, so that's perfect. But you are right. In this intro, the yeoman is the yeoman. We learn later her last name is Barrows.
Weird.
Barrows, I think.
And even then, I didn't know what it was until I put this, I watched with the closed captioning, and then finally they said her name. I was like, oh, that's her name. Oh, it's Barrows, like a wheelbarrow.
Yeah, Barrows. I'm just going to say it with a stupid accent.
Barrows.
But I picked it up for the same way. I have the closed captions on when I watch it as well, and at some point before they said her name, when she has dialogue, the closed captions used her name to point out who was speaking.
And then you're like, who's that?
Right. But anyway.
So, I mean, nothing like against her. I'm sure she's lovely. She's very beautiful.
We only have to put up with her for
haircut.
one episode. You don't have to kiss her butt that much.
Okay, cool. Well, she is pretty, and I like her hair. It's been 3 months. We learned it's been 3 months. They've been working really, really hard, and Kirk is waiting for a report from the landing party about this planet that they're gonna go on. That's like Earth, but he's like, my back hurts, and Yeoman, she like gets right in there and starts rubbing out that kink. And Kirk's like, oh, thanks, Spock. Because Spock walks ahead to show that he's not rubbing out the kink. And then Kirk's like, oh, okay, I feel much better now. Thank you.
Yeah. definitely becomes very uncomfortable when he realizes he's getting a back massage from his subordinate personal assistant. Okay, kudos, Kirk. HR sees you.
So he's a little embarrassed, so he dismisses her and she says, you should probably take a nap.
She says you need more sleep. She doesn't send him off for nap time.
So Kirk goes to his quarters and he asks Uhura to send the report to him once it comes back up from the landing party. And then meanwhile, while that's happening on the Enterprise, Sulu and Dr. McCoy are on the planet. And they're like, this is so beautiful. No animals, no humans, no insects. It's like Earth. So lovely. And they've made sure that their instruments, everything's peachy, but they're just there to make assurance in person. And then Sue asks if Kirk would approve a shore leave at this planet, because I'm presuming that they are doing all these planet researches to find the right one for the team.
It seems like that is their current mission, is they're looking for a location for vacation. They're too far out to return back to known space and go vacation at somewhere that they normally would. So they're just looking for some kind of planet where they can spend some time.
Got it. Yes, because Dr. McCoy's like, well, that's a good opinion of yours, but we have 430 other people to discuss with. But then McCoy makes a comment about how the planet reminds him of Alice in Wonderland, and that, yes, he would have to approve it, Kirk. And then next thing we know, Dr. McCoy turns around, and there is a giant white bunny in a vest and a jacket, and he is looking at his clock going, my pause, oh my, I'll be late.
An obvious reference to the White Rabbit in Alice in Wonderland.
Yes. And then right behind him, guess what? Is a little girl saying, have you seen a white rabbit? And yes, follow right through the hedge. There's a hole right there he already made. So that was odd.
But then he calls Sulu over to try to see if Sulu saw anything. Sulu didn't, because Sulu was taking samples of the plants and the flowers as part of the study. And we get the opening credits. And it seems like it was a longer, I don't know, at least for me, it felt like compared to some of the last few episodes we've seen, this was a very long, cold opening or long opening for the show. It just kind of tried to cram a lot into it. And it makes it very obvious, like you said from the beginning, this is going to be a different episode. It's going to be whimsical. It's going to be a little goofy and a little funny. The music that plays makes light of the situation. Even everyone's reaction seems to be more cartoonish throughout. Even just this brief scene before we go to the opening credits of McCoy and Sulu staring off into the hedge where the White Rabbit and Alice ran off to. I got Gilligan's Island vibe from the whole thing.
I was enjoying the bassoon and oboe playing.
It
Double reeds, whoop whoop.
It felt very much like less of a sci-fi show from this time period and more of a comedy show from this time period.
Oh. Well, I think also, though, they had to have both of these scenes before, because we have essentially two shows going at once. I mean, you have Spock in the Enterprise, and then you have what's happening on the planet.
True.
At least that's what I got from it. So then we have our captain's log, and you can hear in the log that Kirk is very tired. Like, he makes it super obvious.
Yeah, they purposely insert even just the moment when Kirk gets confused as to what day it is, and he verbally utters as he's trying to spit it out. I liked it as a little homage or a little fine touch detail to the viewers to point out, yeah, Kirk's actually really tired. It really drove home.
Right, because he does play off a lot. I'm fine. I'm fine. At least what I've seen in the past.
Yeah.
So, yes, the captain's log, he's like, all of this. But he does tell us that the planet is in the Omicron Delta region. And it's very much how Earth used to be, at least from what they remember. So does that
It's
presume that Earth may have changed?
it's just to draw a point home that this is in the future, and the Earth that they come from is not the same Earth that we are experiencing in 1966.
Okay.
There's a lot of history and what happens. They don't dive into it too much this early into Star Trek, but obviously it's Star Trek, so there's a rich history as to what happened. Fun fact, this is being recorded in 2026. In the Star Trek timeline, there was a whole eugenics war in the 90s. World War III starts in 2026. So there's a lot that went on Earth before we get to Star Trek, but we're not going to get into any of that. That's a much deeper topic for a later time.
Yeah, 'cause I have no idea what you're talking about, but now I know why we have airplanes in this episode later on. But and 15 years is also mentioned, so it has been at least 15 years since they saw Earth originally.
No.
Oh,
It's been
just a milestone.
1 week since you looked at it.
I was singing that song too.
I know, I was just singing it in my head. I let the voices win on that one.
I'm helping you.
It's been less than a year. Again, it's been less than a year. It has not been 15 years since the Enterprise embarked on this mission. Again, this is supposed to be a 5-year mission.
Right.
The first season is year 1, so it has not been that long. The reference to that you're thinking of 15 years, he mentions it to Ruth later on the planet. It's been 15 years since Kirk has graduated or has been in the academy, the Starfleet Academy on Earth.
Okay, that makes sense.
Which again puts him in the early to mid 30s.
Okay, I got it. So we are still in his quarters, and while he is in his quarters, he is talking to Yeoman and Spock, but you can hear in the background that there's announcements for those going to the planet. You need to get in line. It's going to be alphabetical order. Get ready. Get packed up and ready to go. But we're not going yet, but get ready.
Definitely, again, putting forth this idea that the ship is getting ready for a major excursion of crew members down to the planet for shore leave. Kind of weird because they don't have the reports back if it's safe or not yet, but I guess being prepared is a good thing. Fun fact, the voice that's making all of the announcements is the same actor who gave the voice for the White Rabbit down on the planet.
Oh, I love him already. So, well, I guess Kirk has to talk to them now that they're in his office. And the yeoman, I guess I should call her now, Yeoman Barrows, wants to know when Kirk is going because he's not on the list anywhere. And he says he doesn't plan on going because he doesn't need to. He's just going to hang out. So she leaves, but then Spock comes in. And again, which section are you going to go? And Kirk asks Spock, which section are you going to go in? And I think it's funny. Spock's like, you go on a vacation and expend energy that you are low on to have fun. But logically, when we rest, meaning me, Vulcan.
Me, Vulcan, you, Tarzan.
When we rest, we actually rest. Like, we actually nap or whatever they do to rest and recharge their batteries. McCoy calls and interrupts this little conversation and asks again, when is Kirk beaming down? And he's explaining that the prior landing party who first checked the planet must have been mesmerized by the planet's beauty or something, because something's off, or he's not fit for duty. And they're like, wait, I'm sorry, what? Because he's explaining that he just saw a giant white rabbit and Kirk stops him and makes it like a joke. He's like, and was it followed by a blonde little girl? And Kirk is playing it off like a joke, where McCoy, I think, is actually serious. Like, I mean, are our instruments right? Did we just say this is pretty and let's go? I don't know what's happening.
Well, and Kirk dismisses McCoy and shares with Spock that this is McCoy's way of trying to get Kirk down to the planet. McCoy knows that Kirk doesn't want to go down simply for vacation, so Kirk thinks McCoy is inventing some kind of mystery to investigate, which Kirk will be too intrigued to ignore and will go down to the planet only to discover there's no real mystery. But now the biggest hurdle is overcome. Kirk's on the planet, so now it's time to just relax.
Exactly. But then to push Kirk more, Spock also brings up that Dr. McCoy in his logs is concerned about one of the crew members. And Kirk's like, what's wrong with this member? And he says that this crew member is very fatigued, he's irritable, he's grumpy, he's not reacting to important things fast enough. And Kirk's like, whoa, that's unacceptable. This guy has to go. He always assumes it's a guy. This guy has to go on leave and get a rest and, come back better. And then he goes, who is this? And Spock's like the straightest face ever. James Kirk.
Yeah, it's a great little scene. It shows a lot of the friendship and connection between Kirk and Spock. It definitely fits the theme of the episode of being whimsy and goofy, but it doesn't come across to me as cheesy. It's very well inserted into the dialogue of this scene.
Well, I think in general, all three of them care about each other. I mean, Spock can say, I have no human emotion whatsoever, but like if he didn't care, he wouldn't care.
Right.
Then we were popping back onto the planet, and for no reason, we don't know why, but a rock opens like a treasure chest and it exposes a gun.
Yeah.
And then we leave that scene and go to two other crew members who are in like these giant fern plants. It's Lieutenant Rodriguez and crew member Teller, who I am sure is actually Angela Martine, but she's just, changed her name for the next episode.
So
yeah,
we'll jump forward slightly because they're scanning and they're making their reports. They're not part of the shore leave party. They're part of the first wave of investigators to make sure that the planet is suitable for shore leave and safe. So they're scanning all these plants, and Kirk and Yeoman Barrows beam down, and Kirk does refer to the female crew member as Teller. That is a mistake that made it past the editors. We'll get to it later.
So I'm right?
It is Angelina Martine. It's the same actress, so it's the same character.
I can get a martini now. Oh, I'm so excited.
But anyway.
Sorry, I got too excited.
Kirk tells Martine, and Rodriguez is the male crew member's name, to finish up your reports and then go start shore leave. Because Kirk's pretty much made the decision this is what's going to happen at this point. They are going to do their shore leave on this planet.
So as Kirk and Yeoman Burroughs are walking around checking everything out,
they're specifically going to look for Sulu and McCoy to further investigate McCoy's reports of the bunny and the young girl.
Thank you. I just got sidetracked with the beauty.
You got sidetracked with the fact that you correctly identified a crew member from last week's episode.
Yes, so I lost my place. All right, so they're commenting on, Kirk is making comments, and then the yeoman, she's like trying to be flirty, and then he like looks at her weird and she goes, oh yeah, affirmative. It's like, calm down, girl, just do your job.
Right.
So Finally, they find McCoy, and he is so proud of himself because he found rabbit tracks, like proof that there is at least something that has rabbit feet.
Yeah, that this isn't just 100% a hallucination. Something is afoot.
Oh, and
See,
then of course,
that's a pun. That's a rabbit foot pun. That's a good joke.
Kirk asks, well, did Sulu see the rabbit? And then, of course, he can't say yes because Sulu was examining the flora and taking more specimens, because Sulu does like plants, like our plant that we met earlier, and now she's no longer with us, the pink one. But
I don't remember what Gertrude, I think you named her.
Yes.
Gertrude, yes.
Yes.
All the way back to the
our Venus flytrap girl,
oh no, what it was
the second episode.
it was Charlie X.
Oh.
No, it was the man trap because the
Yes.
salt monster goes in. That's
Yes.
from the man trap you're thinking of.
My beautiful plant that he harmed.
It's a good episode. Everyone should go back and watch it.
Yeah. So Kirk then decides that he's just going to call Uhura up at the Enterprise and have the shore leave be put on hold. Like, we need to investigate a little bit more. And as he's talking to her, there are gunshots. Because remember the gun. So they all go running towards the sound of the gun. Kirk, our yeoman, McCoy, and Sulu has the biggest grin shooting this gun at a tree, random trees. And they're like, what are you doing? And he says, well, I found this gun and it's this beautiful police history. Like, apparently Sulu has a gun collection.
Sulu has a gun fetish.
And this is a piece that he does not have, and he's in love with it. And like, you can see that he is so happy to just be holding it.
And again, I understand the importance of this scene. It again ties into the fact and leads the viewers down the path of the crew members think of something and it suddenly becomes real. But up until this point, all they have is the hallucination of the white rabbit and the little girl. They find some tracks. They at least with those have some kind of sense of curiosity, some sense of caution, because Kirk cancels the shore leave until they can look into it a little bit further. Hey, it doesn't make any sense that our sensors say there's no animals on the planet, but here are tracks. But by golly, we find a gun that would have had to have been on this planet for hundreds of years, because Sulu says they don't make them like that anymore.
Right.
On a planet that is never been explored and in theory has never come in contact with humans. But here we have an Earth-style gun from 200 years ago. One, no one questions it. Two, Sulu just thinks, let's just pick it up and start shooting things with it.
Right. And we never see anything about someone thinking about a gun. It, like, literally, the rock is lifted up and there it is.
Well, and you have to suspend a little bit of disbelief and have to assume that at some point Sulu's mind started to daydream.
Ah, true.
And he started thinking of his gun collection because he has a gun fetish, and he imagined this one piece that wasn't in his collection that he desired to have as part of his collection, and it just all happens off camera. It is very random. Much like most of their thoughts and desires that become real don't really make sense or don't fit a narrative, why would anyone compare that particular setting to Alice in Wonderland amongst all the other references they could have chosen? They come up with these fantasies, the writers, specifically Roddenberry, because he's rewriting this episode as it's being filmed. Spoiler. This took forever to film. It ran late in filming because Roddenberry is writing the script. Literally, they're shooting a scene over here, and Roddenberry is sitting under a tree over there writing the next scene. And they're just coming up with the most crazy things they can come up with, but also the things that are available and on hand.
That's insane.
So, Makes no sense.
Kirk actually takes the gun away from Sulu and says, "Thank you. I'll keep this for now." And then Yeoman Barrows is like, "Whoa, there's more tracks here, more bunny tracks." Yeoman Barrows and Sulu follow the rabbit tracks, and Kirk and McCoy go back to the grassy area at the beginning to see who else is there. As they leave, we see an antenna, like think those crazy antenna you put in your house in the country where all the birds sit on. It just like pops up and watches them, and then next scene.
Yes. Specifically, it's a point of view where we as the camera is behind the antenna as it's watching it. It gives this forced perspective that it gives us the forced perspective like the audience is the antenna.
I loved it.
It's something a little bit new. I don't think we've seen that in Star Trek to this point. So
No, I think it was a really great addition.
again, I think it really fits the theme or the
yeah,
mood of the episode.
So as they're walking back, McCoy is kind of feeling down. He feels picked on because like about seeing this rabbit and the whole Alice in Wonderland thing, and he's like, my feelings are hurt. And I'm like, I understand how you feel, friend. And Kirk opens up himself saying that he is no stranger to being picked on. He was super strict on himself in the academy so that he could be a good captain and be a good leader in general. And this one kid, Finnegan, always picked on him. He never knew when he would be attacked. Bowls of water on doors, soup in bed, like, ugh. He gave ideas for me to try on you, Brian.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen.
But like they kind of like bonded, and then all of a sudden we see more rabbit tracks, and again the young girl tracks, like they popped up again, and the two, McCoy and Kirk, split up again. So we just keep splitting everybody up. And as Kirk is following the rabbit tracks, Finnegan is manifested as if it was 15 years ago in Academy. He's wearing this like silver outfit.
Yeah, like an academy outfit. But important to point out, and is mentioned, Finnegan appears as he did 15 years ago, not as someone who is Finnegan who has aged 15 years to be the same age as Kirk. It is literally supposed to be Finnegan as a 20-year-old.
It did take me a while to figure that out.
I think the actor who plays him is in his early 30s.
That's probably why.
Yeah.
But he did a great job. Like, he was rude. He was obnoxious. Phenomenal. And then, of course, the music they had for him, chef's kiss.
We'll talk about the music in the Tribble Tidbits at the end of the episode.
So, and he just kept, like, antagonizing Kirk. And then when he finally walks up to him, hey, bro, he just punches him in the face. And Kirk's like, well, that's not nice. And he's being more and more antagonized. And he's like, well, I'm going to do what I didn't do before and punch you out.
Yeah. Again, pointing out that we have another manifestation of something of incredible disbelief. Someone from Kirk's past from 15 years ago who appears not to have aged one bit. And Kirk doesn't question it in the moment. He very much is just like, oh, hey, Finnegan, what are you doing here? And again, part of my few hangups with this episode is the fact that no one just has those leaps of logic, and no one at any point really questions some of this as much as they should.
I agree with that. Maybe that's the mystical part of the planet.
Yes, maybe the planet has some hypnotic effect as well as...
Oh, I'm getting there.
Yeah, we'll get there for sure.
So, but while they're tussling, now they're screaming. So they're interrupted, and Kirk is running towards the screams, which is Yeoman Barrow. And Finnegan is just, jumping around like a leprechaun going, ha 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 ha. Okay.
Why?
So,
Why the image of a leprechaun, Jackie?
well, because he was doing like the little arm bend and the skippy legs. Like when I saw him, I imagined one of those little leprechauns on the cereal boxes.
Okay. Well, we'll move past that.
So Yeoman was screaming and clinging to a tree with her uniform all ripped up when both Kirk and Dr. McCoy arrived.
This was the scene as Kirk is running to investigate the screams, and McCoy comes running out of the bushes to the side to join Kirk to run to the screams to investigate. This was the moment that I got her name.
Oh, yeah.
I think this is the moment that I really figured out that Yeoman has a name, because
It says screams, Barrows.
yes, and I think also McCoy asks Kirk what's wrong, and Kirk responds with, "It's Barrows." And so I think this is the moment that the episode gives her the name.
It just sucks as a part of like this dramatic part, and you're trying to listen to what they're saying, and then they bring up something silly that we could have learned 10 minutes ago.
Yep, again, Star Trek not doing a good job introducing new characters at this point.
So she's like, I was enjoying my walk, and something just came and attacked me. And then Kirk had the nerve to ask her, are you sure it was a man in a cloak and like a jeweled dagger? Because she said jeweled dagger. And she's like, no, I ripped my own uniform.
Yeah,
Like, I was like, girl power, but still.
this is the wrong moment to be questioning other people's hallucinations when,
like, she's beat up.
yeah, we've got all these other examples, the white rabbit, and he's like, maybe it happened, maybe it didn't. We've got the gun, the biggest moment up to this point, where it's like, really, no one wants to question the legitimacy or the reasoning behind this gun being here. You have Kirk seeing his bully from the academy from 15 years ago suddenly show up out of nowhere. But yeah, let's question the legitimacy of the female assistant Yeoman with a ripped up uniform.
Yeah, and she's like, so, I mean, they're pretty, not modest to begin with, but like she's like trying to keep the top part up as much as she can, and they're still questioning. Like, it's just, that made me mad. But McCoy put it together because she was like daydreaming about how romantic and everything it could be. Well, Don Juan would be a great story because they're living in a storybook world.
Yep,
on this planet.
Another story reference.
So, okay, that's cool. Basically, is how I felt after they left. And Sulu was like, all right, I'll go run after Don Juan and get him. But Kirk's like, no, come back. And then we have another antenna. Like, they just pop up. So Kirk has left the grassy area. We don't know where Sulu went, but he's like now in like a desert dirt area. But he comes also upon this beautiful flower bush, and he picks a flower. And then as he does that, this woman, blonde, beautiful, you get the picture, walks up to him, and he's like, oh, Ruth. And he's like hypnotized.
Yep, and we get another commercial break. Important to point out, I think the purpose of the flower that he picks and sniffs is, it's a question of, was he thinking of Ruth in that moment, and the flower generated and was part of the planet manifesting Ruth, or did the flower happen to exist there naturally? The flower just happened to trigger the memory of Ruth, and then we have Ruth.
Ooh, the chicken or the egg.
There you go, the flower or the chick.
So he come back from the commercial break, and he has another captain's log, and it basically just says, we're still investigating the planet. We're seeing things that we shouldn't, but it's actually there. So why? That was basically the entry. Back to Kirk being with this woman named Ruth. And we learn also she hasn't aged. It's been 15 years. She's still gorgeous. And Kirk is trying to answer all these phone calls that keep coming in. It's like everybody decided to call at once. And he is so glued to Ruth. He's just like, sure, do whatever you want. Oh, you found this, or he's not being a leader at this time. He's just trying to get off the phone.
Yeah, he definitely is dismissive. These quote unquote phone calls.
Well, the little communicator things.
Yeah, messages, we'll call them.
Okay.
McCoy calls Kirk and is trying to check in with Kirk. Don't get a lot of plot development there. Rodriguez calls and says he saw a flock of birds. And again, this is important because there's not supposed to be any animals on the planet. Kirk dismisses it as,
don't you like birds?
Don't you like birds? The equipment must be malfunctioning. Rodriguez, leave me alone. I gotta talk to Ruth. I don't know why Kirk has that accent. But yeah, he's super dismissive. But he does eventually seem to snap out of it for a moment. He tells Rodriguez to pass the word on to everyone else, that they all should meet back at the glade where they first beamed down and met. For better reference, it's where McCoy first saw the white rabbit. And then we don't get Ruth anymore. They kind of have a tender moment. She does tell him, though, hey, go attend to what you need to. I'll be waiting for you. I don't know why Ruth has that voice either.
But I think Kirk kind of popped out because he kept asking her questions and she never answered them.
Right.
And so he's like, why am I even here when I have a job to do?
Right. And we don't ever really find out who Ruth is in the episode.
Which is stupid.
I think you are supposed to infer, just like Finnegan was a prominent person during Kirk's academy years, Ruth was a love interest of Kirk while he was at the academy.
And they also got a lady that's not looking too young.
Yeah, so I wasn't going to mention that, but since you brought it up and we had the same observation, she is also an actress who is in her early 30s.
I mean, she's beautiful. Like, don't get me wrong, she's gorgeous, but she does not look like she is in high school.
Right.
Even her outfit.
So if she hasn't aged a day in 15 years, that means that when Kirk was in the academy,
he was dating his teacher.
That's kind of the insinuation that I got from the episode. But again, that's all our hypothesis. Yes. That is all us projecting fan theories into the show.
Not truth.
Kirk doesn't really establish his age at this point. So, and there's lots of little inconsistencies with the age. And again, they're just trying to fill roles with actors and actresses. But it's Star Trek, so we're going to read into it more.
And as we say goodbye to Ruth, we start going to the glade. Now we hear from Spock, who has contacted Kirk through our message communicator comm thing. He tells Kirk that he found a weird, he even used the word weird, power field, and it's affecting the communication between all of between the ship and on the planet, and it's draining the energy
from the ship, from the Enterprise.
Yes. But he can only presume that it's under the surface and that it may be dangerous. So, be cautious. We cut to McCoy and Yeoman Barrows walking along a path, and she's just going on and on and on about being a princess and having people fight over her and wearing a tall hat and a veil. Like a little girl. She's like, oh.
She's inspired by the plants and the scenery around her.
Yes. And then, what do you know? She walks by, and there is everything she's been talking about, just hanging out on the trees like Naked and Afraid bags.
Right. Right before she sees the dress, though, there's that flirtatious moment between her and McCoy where Yeoman makes the comment that she wants to be dressed up as a princess. McCoy makes the comment that she'd have to fight off a whole army of Don Juans,
including
him. She looks at him and says, "Is that a promise?" They have this little tender moment. And then, yes, she sees the dress. But she goes and she's super infatuated with it. McCoy encourages her to put it on. She has half a moment of being hesitant to put it on. Again, we have characters that are not questioning the bullshit reality that the planet is putting forth for them. But McCoy encourages her, says he'd like to see her wearing it. She should wear it. And she just gets over her fear or caution, and she starts to change into the dress behind the plant, teasing McCoy not to peek while she does.
He only peeks in the line of duty, though.
That's right, because he's a doctor.
So she is changing, and while she's changing, Rodriguez gives a call to McCoy and is relaying a message that they need to be going to the glade to all meet up.
Right, on Kirk's orders. And it's again a fun, flirtatious scene where McCoy is only half listening to the call. He's peeking over his shoulder. We're getting shots of off-camera Yeoman Barrows draping various articles of clothing over the plant as she's changing into the princess uniform.
I mean, she doesn't have much to wear already, but she put a lot of clothes on the tree.
She sure did.
So while that's but now we are popped over to Rodriguez to see what he's doing along with our girl Angela Martini, and they are being attacked by a tiger. I don't know though why they got attacked by a tiger.
They're not really being attacked by a tiger. There's a tiger that's climbing out of a tree that's very close to them, and they're kind of huddling and half hiding and half hoping it goes away. I don't know why either. I'll give criticism. The guy has a phaser strapped to his belt, and we have not yet learned that the phaser doesn't work.
Right.
This would have been a good opportunity to introduce that concept to the viewers. Maybe he tried using the phaser off camera and it didn't work, and that's why he's not using it now. I don't know. There's also a whole controversy we won't get into about people criticizing Martine by saying that her fiance died in last week's episode and she now is seemingly attracted to Rodriguez and not giving enough time to mourn.
He's saving her life.
It's a fearful situation. There was a little flirting going on before when they were collecting plants. Irregardless, there's also no way to really determine what order chronologically these episodes are taking place in. So for all we know, it's been months.
Or they're actually really good friends.
Or they're just really good friends. Or this all takes place technically before she gets engaged to her fiance. There's no way to know, so we're not gonna try to break it down.
Perhaps also they have Rodriguez focus on the animals because he is the one that brought up the birds. He's the one that brought up the planes that could be seen as mean and angry.
Or that he just has a fascination with early Earth history.
Yeah.
So,
he's so different.
True.
And he's the only one that actually wanted to finish his report before he could have fun.
True.
A goody two-shoes. I like him.
We do a quick cut from Martine and Rodriguez and the tiger back to Yeoman and McCoy. She's changed into the dress. She comes out from behind the bushes. McCoy smiles with approval. We do a hard cut to Kirk. He's talking to Spock on the communicator, looking for answers. Spock says he'll beam down with some armed crew members. Kirk says no. We do a super hard, awkward cut because I originally thought we were watching Kirk in this scene, but it's not. It's Sulu. Sulu gets attacked by a samurai warrior out of nowhere.
He just comes out of the ground.
This is the first moment that we see that the phaser doesn't work, but again, it's awkwardly introduced. Is it not working? Is Sulu fumbling with it? Does he not have enough time to fire off a shot? Who knows? All of that to say, we finally catch up to something that's a little more normal. Sulu comes running in from off screen to catch up with Kirk saying he's being chased. The warrior has disappeared. Shares with Kirk finally in some clean fashion that the phasers don't work. But we see Spock beam down at this point. And Spock shares that the communications are now completely being blocked by this mysterious energy field. The ship is still losing power. It's being drained by the energy field. They had just enough power to do one more transport, so they sent Spock down. Now they're stranded on the planet unless they figure something out.
Yeoman and McCoy are first to the glade. They hear a rustling in the foliage, and then in walks a knight in shining armor on his horse. Remember, she's still in her princess outfit.
Specifically, it's important to point out, they hear the rustling, they get a little scared.
Yes.
McCoy makes the line, princesses shouldn't be afraid when they have a knight in shining armor to protect them. Then the knight appears. The question becomes, the knight wouldn't have been manufactured until McCoy thought about it.
So who was rustling?
Or McCoy already has a fantasy in his brain that he is the knight in shining armor that is there to protect the princess.
Oh.
And is that McCoy or is that the planet influencing how he thinks? Don't know. It's muddled and confused.
I didn't even think about that. So our knight in shining armor actually decides to fight McCoy with his jousting stick. And
It's called the lance. Hello. That's a callback to A Knight's Tale. Thank you. I'll be here all week. Tip your waitresses.
They also joust, so I'm sorry, you're right.
Jousting is what you
The
do with a
art.
lance.
Yes, the art versus the item. But the knight, quote unquote, kills McCoy.
He runs him through. McCoy stands his ground for the knight's charge on horseback
Because it's a hallucination.
because he's convinced that it's not real. Despite the fact, for everything else they've seen to the contrary, the gun was real, it fired real bullets. Don Juan was real, he tore the uniform of yeoman. The dress is certainly real, but no, it's a hallucination. It's not going to hurt him. It, in fact, kills him. And we get another fun commercial break. We come back from commercial break, and of course, Yeoman is hysterical over McCoy's dead body. Kirk has to calm her down and remind her that this isn't a fantasy. She's a Starfleet officer. She needs to act as such. Everyone has to pull it together.
Kirk, Sulu, and Spock also go to the knight he's laying on his back. He may be harmed.
Right, because we didn't mention before the commercial break, after he runs McCoy through with his lance, Spock and Kirk try to shoot him with the phaser. The phaser still doesn't work. Kirk pulls out the gun that he confiscated from Sulu earlier and shoots the knight dead. Skipped over that part, back to where we were, examining the dead knight.
And they are so confused because he is not a human. Like, they're poking his face, and they learn he's basically a plant, like a literal plant.
I'll clarify, he has the appearance of a mannequin, and as they scan the molecular structure of his body, they're able to determine that basically he's made out of the same material that all of the plants and flowers and everything around them are made out of. It's to point out that he's not real. He's not a real person. He's something that's been manufactured using the same things that have created all the plants around them. It's to point out that this is all fake. So we do a hard cut to Rodriguez and Martine at this point because they have not made it back to the glade. They're still making their way back there, we guess. They see an airplane in the sky. This is a manifestation of Rodriguez because Rodriguez recognizes it. Again, maybe he's an old Earth history buff, but he utters the words, "We're of course safe as long as it doesn't start making a strafing run to attack us." And it instantly starts making a strafing run to attack them. They run away from it. We get a comical moment where they run into a little patch of overgrowth of plants and trees. You can't tell if Martine was shot or if he just ran her into a tree because she falls down.
While not looking, both the knight and McCoy's bodies have disappeared.
Right, under everyone's noses. And as they're trying to figure out what happened with that,
Finnegan shows back up.
Spock drills Kirk or questions Kirk a little bit to try to discover the puzzle pieces, put two and two together, and asks Kirk what he was thinking about before when he started seeing these hallucinations. Kirk draws the parallel that he was thinking of the Academy, and yes, Finnegan shows up again. And again, Kirk does not react to him as if he's a hallucination. Kirk buys into the hallucination wholeheartedly and tells Spock, you stay here and look for McCoy's body. I'm going to go deal with Finnegan. He's mine. And he chases after Finnegan. We get this extremely drawn out. This is going to be pretty much a huge conclusion to Act 3 going into Act 4, where Kirk is trying to chase Finnegan. We have the music. Finnegan keeps popping up impossibly in random places as Kirk is chasing him. They get into a huge fight.
It's like UFC 8.
Yes, we cannot do it justice. Definitely should watch it. But the fight takes a pause when Finnegan knocks out Kirk, basically taunting him. We go to commercial break. Kirk wakes back up. You don't know how much time has passed. None at all, because Finnegan is still right there. We get another huge, long, drawn-out fight scene between Kirk and Finnegan. Kirk the whole time is just trying to ask, I don't necessarily think wholeheartedly, but he does occasionally ask Finnegan, what's going on? Who are you? What are you doing? Where did you come from? And eventually, Kirk wins the fight.
Spock finds them. Did you enjoy what you did? I mean, thoughts are being read and fears and wants are being manufactured immediately somehow.
Because Kirk recognizes that, yeah, this whole time I've always dreamed of getting the upper hand on Finnegan and beating him up and knocking the tar out of him. So, in a way, I think that was the only reason Kirk was able to defeat Finnegan in the fight, is because Kirk manifested that victory in his brain. The planet picked up on that desire and made it happen.
I mean, Spock even accidentally mentions the planes and Rodriguez, and then we see the planes in the sky.
And the tiger.
Exactly.
But I think in my headcanon, Spock is immune to the planet, or at least has control over his thoughts so that he doesn't have these off manifestations, because at no point in my mind that happens to Spock. Even though Spock's the one who mentions the tiger and the airplanes, in my mind, when he does that, Kirk thinks of the tiger and the airplanes, and that's why they manifest themselves, is because Kirk is manifesting it. That's how it works in my brain.
Oh, I agree with you. Because, I mean, he even says it openly, and they're like, no, don't say that.
So Kirk and Spock are running back to the glade. They've seen the tiger. They've outmaneuvered the strafing airplanes. They duck past the samurai warrior from earlier. The guy had to get his day rate pay, so they had to use him in 2 scenes. They get back to the glade. There's this awkward moment where Don Juan is holding Yeoman Barrows hostage. They're keeping him at bay. Sulu, McCoy. Not McCoy. McCoy's dead. Sulu and Rodriguez are keeping him at bay. Kirk and Spock show up. Don Juan is frightened off. Again, I think someone is manifesting. We need to get Yeoman away from this mysterious person. That triggers the guy to run away. We get to the ending where the caretaker arrives.
And he happily arrives after Kirk has made sure that everyone is standing at attention and to not think of anything but staying in attention and what their jobs are. The caretaker comes in as full of smiles and happiness, and I hope you're having a great time. And Kirk's like, what is this? And he explains that it's for amusement. And Spock goes, you mean like an amusement park? Yes!
Yeah, the caretaker explains that the planet was manufactured for his people to have a vacation spot. and apologizes for any of the negative experiences that they had because he didn't realize when they arrived they didn't understand the purpose of the planet. So I guess that's an explanation as to why he didn't intervene sooner. He just assumed that the crew of the Enterprise had full knowledge of the fact that this planet would manifest their thoughts and they would be more disciplined in their interactions with this power.
Perhaps that's why he just followed them around with the antenna to make sure nobody needed help.
Yeah, let's pretend it was him. I don't know if it was him or if those are automatic sensor reading places. But
Oh, like little Photoshop photos while you're on the ride.
sure.
And then Kirk is angry. He's like, "This wasn't fun. You killed one of my people." And he's like, "No one died." And in comes Dr. McCoy with two pretty ladies on his arm in burlesque outfits. And he's like, "Hi, guys."
Yeah, space Playboy bunnies.
Feathers galore. And like, he's like, "I'm healthy."
He says he's healthy. He had been taken below the planet, that underneath the planet, it's just an entire factory where they can manifest or create anything. It's a very vague explanation that doesn't actually explain anything.
Probably for the better of all who have to go down there.
Yeah.
And he only explains the burlesque outfits because he was thinking of Rigel 3.
2.
Oh, was it 2?
It was 2.
Well, he was just thinking about that. He's like, why not?
Yeah, Rigel 3 has the male space Playboy bunnies.
Oh, he don't need that.
No, he went to 2.
No.
So Kirk ends the conversation and dialogue with the caretaker by trying to find out what alien species they are, where they're from. The caretaker deflects the questions by saying, you guys aren't ready to know us. You guys aren't ready to have that information, but you're more than welcome to use our planet, this amusement park, to have your shore leave. Spock declines the offer. He says, I'll go back up to the ship. I'll help run the ship. You guys can stay down here. Kirk starts to object, but then off from the side starts to walk Ruth, and Kirk very much changes his mind quickly and says, no, never mind. I'll stay here for a couple days. So they do get there. It doesn't say how long, at least a couple days of shore leave on the planet. It has to be a couple days. The Enterprise can't be run by Spock himself, so they have to do their shore leave in shifts.
Right. I just want to know what they talked about, though.
Don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Does it change anything that Kirk knows that Ruth is a manifestation and not the real person?
Oh, good question.
Yeah.
I mean, because he's lived 15 more years and she's
not real.
Yeah. Huh. Or they just enjoyed their time, being a lady and a man.
Yeah. Translation, they had sex.
So after a few days, everybody has to go back to work. So back to the Enterprise they go. Spock asks, did you all have fun? They said they did. Spock replies that is most illogical. Then they all laugh. And Kirk says, warp factor 1, Mr. Sulu.
And roll credits. So, Jackie, what are your final thoughts about Season 1, Episode 15, Shore Leave?
I really, really liked it. I watched it. I always watch them multiple times, and I would really watch this one more times just to watch it.
Yeah, it's a good, as I said in the beginning, it's a good episode. It's a change of pace, which is nice. It definitely, I think, effectively changes the pace of the season. Again, it has more of a comedy, goofy feeling like television shows of that time era instead of dramatic sci-fi. Again, it screams Gilligan's Island to me. It screams Addams Family to me. That goofiness of television shows from that time period. So I liked it. Definitely some plot hole problems. Definitely leaves some things open and questioning why no one was wondering what was happening, as obvious things like the gun showed up. Also never mentioned, Sulu, McCoy, Rodriguez, and Martine were not the only away team members down on the planet scouting things out. There were other scout parties that are mentioned, did they experience any hallucinations? Are they calling up to the Enterprise describing things that they're experiencing and manifesting? It's not mentioned.
I have the same question because, I mean, they had to have multiple reports
Yeah,
and only one came back.
I would assume at least they had multiple parties because they had to find a suitable location, because there's a lot of people going down to the planet, but there's only 430 according to McCoy
Right.
people on the ship. They have to leave some people on the ship. They have to go down in waves to do their shore leave. So if they're sending down waves of people, even if they sent half, that's 200 people, they have to find a place that's suitable for everyone. So I
Exactly.
imagine that they've got multiple people out there looking for multiple sites, but we never hear about them. We never hear any of it. Also, what is the whole subplot of the energy field from the planet draining the Enterprise's energy and power?
Right?
It's never mentioned. It acts as a plot point to somewhat disrupt communications. I guess it acts as a plot point to force Spock down onto the planet because, again, if he didn't beam down in that moment, he wouldn't be able to go down. Shuttlecraft are not a thing yet. But there's no explanation. There's no wrap up to it. The caretaker doesn't explain why they were drawing energy from the ship. There's no explanation. How about the fact that it takes energy for the planet to manifest all of these things for them to interact with and play with, and the planet just expects the ship that arrives to supply that power as sort of payment for the services? That would make sense in my brain, but they never touch it. I think it's a wasted opportunity.
No, you're totally right because then the ship is empty of juice and then how are they going to get it home?
Yeah. So
Part 2.
part two, there's no part two to this. So,
That's sad.
yep, it's a plot point that's left on the cutting room floor. There was some ideas of returning to the shore leave planet, as it is affectionately called. There were ideas for a sequel episode. I won't spoil it. It shows up later in another series, but it's not going to be something that we really revisit in any significant way. But again, final impression, I really enjoyed the episode.
I really, really enjoyed the episode. I would watch it again.
So we have a few Tribble tidbits or fun facts about the episode. Again, it's called Tribble tidbits. Why, Jaci?
Because they're the best.
Because Jaci likes tribbles even though she doesn't know what they are. First airing December 29th, 1966.
Oh,
Okay.
Christmas.
Yeah, it's an episode that would have aired during the holiday season, so makes sense to have something a little more lighthearted.
Yeah, lovey-dovey.
Also, they weren't fully in control of what they were going to air, in what order. Production, post-production, filming, all determined what order things came in. The tiger that we see on scene never directly interacts with the crew and the actors. Every time you see the tiger on screen, it is more of a B-roll shot that they edit in. So the tiger and the actors are not on the set at the same time, except one instance, the last appearance of the tiger, when Kirk and Spock think of it. You do see the tiger in the background behind them, and that is the only time that you can clearly see that the tiger is wearing a chain around its neck, a leash to chain it into place for crew safety so that it doesn't go attack them. Otherwise, all the other B-roll footage, everything else was filmed without the crew in its immediate vicinity for their safety. It's reported that William Shatner wanted to insert a scene into the episode where he wrestles the tiger,
No.
and he was not allowed to for his own safety.
Good. And yeah, we don't need to be wrestling.
We mentioned the fact that Kirk called crewman Martine as Teller, and it slipped by the editors. The reason why Kirk does that is because the original script had that character named Teller. It was changed at the last minute to Martine, and in post-production and in Star Trek canon, because the exact reason, the actress who plays that character had already played Martine in last week's episode, The Balance of Terror, And so they recognized, well, we can't have the same actress play two separate characters. So they just made it be the same character.
So she was supposed to be Teller originally, like when she got married?
No.
Oh, okay.
The script was written with a character named Teller.
Oh, okay.
Then this actress was cast to play that character. Then they realized it's a bad idea to have an actress play two separate characters because they'll look exactly alike and it'll be confusing. So then they just retconned it to be that she is Martine. But again, the script called for a character named Teller.
Well, she's not wearing her feather crown in this episode.
Yeah, it's an example of, I mentioned earlier, this was an episode that was constantly being rewritten. It was written in such a way, and then Roddenberry didn't like it. He thought it was too wild, too crazy, too fantastic. But the timing of having to film it and edit it and get it on screen, there wasn't enough time for Roddenberry to really sit down and do rewrites, so he's rewriting it as things are happening. It was a very chaotic production to begin with. This episode in particular, he's literally rewriting scenes hours before they're shot. So,
wow, that's intense for everybody.
Yeah. So intense that an elephant was rented to be used in the episode.
What?
Because they're literally just throwing out any idea, because this is a script and a story where anything can happen. So someone was like, let's get an elephant. So they rent an elephant, and it's not even shot. The scenes weren't even shot with the elephant. They literally, it's not that it was cut out of the episode. They ran out of time, which ticked off the producers because of all the money that was wasted to rent this elephant that wasn't
I'm sure
used.
it's not cheap.
Jaci mentioned how much she dislikes Yeoman Barrows because she's prejudiced for Yeoman Rand.
Go Yeoman Rand.
She was originally going to be in the episode. The script was written for the yeoman to accompany Kirk to be Yeoman Rand.
But because of all the off-camera stuff.
Because of the fact that the actress who played Yeoman Rand had only been hired for 8 episodes, and she had filmed and appeared in her 8 episodes. She wasn't brought back for more, so they rewrote the script to include Yeoman Barrows. They then had to create a love interest for Kirk, so they added Ruth. Another reason why I think Ruth's character is not very well fleshed out in the episode. She was a last minute or late addition to the script.
So were they going to make Yeoman Rand be all flirty and girly like that?
The original purpose of Yeoman Rand's character in the very beginning, when Star Trek first started to film, was Yeoman Rand was going to be the love interest for Kirk. And then things changed.
Oh, I mean, I'm all for it, but I just didn't want her to be like Yeoman Barrows.
No. And in fact, Yeoman Barrows we don't see again. So.
Oh, I'm silently clapping.
So we're going to start seeing a carousel or a parade of different yeomans come through. So
we can have like a Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah, that might be fun. And our last Tribble tidbit, I mentioned, we'll talk about the music briefly. Gerald Fried was the composer for the episode. He wrote all of the new music because there was a lot of music that was needed for the episode. And specifically Finnegan's theme, the theme that played when Finnegan was on screen and then expanded during the fight scene, was all inspired by the music from the fight scene from the 1952 movie The Quiet Man, and specifically the music that played during the fight between Victor McLellan and John Wayne.
Yeah.
So
I told you John Wayne has little sprinkles in this.
Yep. And so those are your Tribble tidbits. So this is where we share our episode ranking, where we pretend the episode is a member of our fictitious starship crew. Each season we have a new starship, and we assign a Starfleet rank to the episode. A higher rank not only means we were more entertained by the episode this week when we watched it, but we find it to be a more important crew member to the season, a more important episode to the starship. And a lower rank means the exact opposite. We didn't find it very entertaining. It's not an important episode for the season. It's not an important member of our crew. Our ranking starts at the bottom with ensign, goes up to lieutenant junior grade, lieutenant, lieutenant commander, commander, captain, and admiral. A perfect 10 plus out of 10 for the season. For a full graphical representation, be sure to check out our Patreon at patreon.com/treks and tangents, where anyone can view our rankings published the day after the episode airs. Every Wednesday, we'll publish an updated graph. For those following along for the season, I've made one change to the ranking structure. The lieutenant commander ranks, because we limit some of the higher rank slots to be limited.
Yes. Hard choice.
So lieutenant commander is right in the middle of the road. It's the first limited slot. It used to be able to accommodate 10 episodes in that slot. I've reduced it down to 7. I want it to be more of an important rank. So as a middle of the road, I think it'll better define what is going to be slightly above the middle of the road versus the lieutenant rank, which is just below the middle of the road, which is an unlimited number of episodes can fit in that slot. For reference, last week's episode, The Balance of Terror, Jaci gave that a ranking of commander, or an 8 or 9 out of 10, which would be the last commander slot. So if she wants to put this in that ranking, she's going to have to demote someone. Jaci, for your starship, the USS Galactic Glitterbee, what do you give this episode a rank?
Well, I need to put them in a commander spot, so I sadly have to demote someone. And I will be demoting part 2 of the menagerie.
So first, what are you going to demote the menagerie part 2 down to?
I will move it to lieutenant commander.
So down 1 rank.
Yes. And that way I can pop this one, today's episode, in that spot.
Okay, why do you want to give this episode Shore Leave the rank of commander, and why is it a higher rank now than the menagerie part 2?
Because I loved it. I mean, I probably would not watch the menagerie 1 and 2 again and again and again, but I would watch this episode alongside my favorite movie, Con Air.
All right. And for my starship, the USS Cosmic Shark, I'm going to give this a solid ranking of commander. That's going to be 1 rank below the captain rank, where I gave last week's episode Balance of Terror. This will fill my last commander slot for the moment. Just like Jaci, I think this is a unique episode and worthy of a higher rank. It is entertaining to watch. It is definitely something that pulls you in, and if anything else, you got to wonder, what are they trying to do with this episode? Wanting to see what happens next, wanting to see what crazy thing is manifested for them to interact with. I don't think this is something that is going to be effective time and time again if it comes up in future episodes. It does. Fun fact, the planet is just going to turn into holodecks in later Star Trek series, so we're going to get some weird holodeck episodes. Some are effective, some are not. But for the first time this being introduced in Star Trek to a Star Trek viewing audience, pretty entertaining. Not worthy of a 10 out of 10 or a 10 plus out of 10, but certainly an 8 or 9 out of 10. For sake of reference, IMDb at the time of this recording gives a ranking of 7.3 out of 10 for Shore Leave. So right on the money, I think, with our ratings. Again, as a reminder, we'll post updated graphics to where our rankings stand over at our Patreon on Wednesday, the day after this episode airs. Everyone can view at patreon.com/treks and tangents. We'll be back next week to trek through another episode, but before we go, this is where we give our turbolift tease or elevator pitch to next week's episode. I will give Jaci the title of next week's episode, and Jaci, with no other context or knowledge, will try to guess the plot of next week's episode. Jaci, next week's episode is entitled The Galileo 7.
All right. So I'm thinking that we are going to learn about 7 individual moons or planets that Galileo said were special.
All right. Tune in next week to see if Jackie's Turbolift tease is accurate. If you want more show information, you can find and directly support our podcast on Patreon, patreon.com/Treks and Tangents. We post for everyone our episode rankings every Wednesday. We also have available for our crew members our animated detour series, where on the fourth Friday of the month, we post a new episode where we dive into the animated series for Star Trek. It's very similar to our regular podcast episode structure, but a little more random, a lot more tangents, a lot less Trek.
It's super cute.
We also have posted currently all of the test episodes that we recorded to lead up to our final episode structure. We watched some episodes of Fringe. We watched some episodes of Stargate SG-1. Those can be entertaining to listen to if you want to kind of follow along and see how the show came together. You can also follow us on x.com at Treks_Tangents. We're also on Instagram and Blue Sky at Treks and Tangents. Jaci, where can people find you and what are you up to?
I am busy, busy, busy. You can find me on Instagram as Jaboom. I share a whole lot of music, dog training, fashion for those that are on weight loss journey or mid-size girlies. And then I also have a whatnot shop called Glitter Bow Boutique, where you can find treasures that I used to love and can no longer use, but you can. So I'll see you over there.
And you can watch me stream a variety of video games over at twitch.tv/PiratePoundTown. On YouTube, I post video games and other random content on my main channel, Pirate Pound Town, and my often neglected second channel, Coin Collecting and other hobby content over at Pirate Treasure Hunting. I post socially on Blue Sky at Pirate Pound Town, and I can also be found on Instagram under Pineapple Cannibal, because let's face it, that's just more entertaining than a pirate. Links to all social media mentioned can be found in the episode description. Thank you everyone for tuning into this episode. We hope you had fun like we did, and we will see you all next week.
And be sure to watch out for any hallucinations.
End transmission.